Why would you do that?
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Willie B.
Pause. This is not your show. Oh, you're right today. Is it really
wait,
on?
Wrong one. It's this one. Boom. Yeah, we actually live.
Oh. Well, shoot. Let me put my keys down. Okay.
So I'm Willie B.
My name is Favorite, and welcome to your reality check. We don't have... Okay, let me at least go share it.
Ray is not with us today, so I will be filling in. As you can see, I look kind of scruffy. I'm not really prepared to be on camera. I look homeless. But we're going to make this do what it do today. Today we are talking about pivoting, you know, whether it's in life, whether it's in love, whether it is in careers. And we have a little bit that we want to share to you today. Definitely a couple clips that we pulled from the internet. And we definitely want you to hop into the conversation today. But first off, how was your week? How you been? What you been up to?
I'm feeling good, Willie B. How's my week going? I'm having a really good day today. I don't know what it is, but I
tell us
love
what you celebrating. What you celebrating?
I'm not even celebrating anything like... Well, first of all, I woke up in a good mood only to find out that we have new life joining our family today.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Miss Spencer Noel came into the world in Arizona. So that was beautiful.
That's good.
Yes, she is beautiful. So yeah, but other than that, I'm just having a really good day. I'm feeling good, and all of that. So how's your day going?
My day is alright. It's cool. No complaints so far.
That's good.
But you know, it's just another day in life. Still healing up from my injury. Physical therapy
Healing
today.
perfectly too. Look at you.
No, there's a lot of swelling that's gonna be there for a while. But you know,
Still,
I'm just staying fast. You know,
part of the
everything's all
process.
good.
Make sure you go all the way through the process.
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying.
Yes.
So that's what I'm gonna have to do. I gotta stay on it, stay on myself.
Yeah. Who's in these comments?
We got Maya Level said, hey.
Hi, Maya.
Thank you for tuning
the
in
camera.
today. And then also, is anybody over on the YouTube? We'll check the YouTube in a second. But thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in this evening. I definitely want to hop on the topics this evening. Pivoting. Kind of a question for you. Is there a point in your life where you had to pivot from one thing to another, you know, kind of without a strategy per se? You just knew where you wanted to go and you knew that you had to leave the place that you were in.
I'm in that place right now.
Really? All right,
Yes.
let's expound.
Yeah, so I've been really, like, for the last few years, I've been wanting to relocate just out of Ohio.
Okay.
So, but it's hard, like I have a child and just thinking about support, thinking about how it's going to affect him, because I know when I moved here, it was like, it wasn't a good effect on me.
Okay.
So I was always concerned about that, but now I'm just like, we've had conversations and he's very comfortable with the idea. So now I'm just like, okay, it's my time. I need to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is kind of initiating that shift?
It's not a what, it's time. Like, it's almost like not feeling, for me, there's a cycle going on and I keep feeling it and I keep going through the same things over and over with the same faces, and it's just like, okay, it's just time to move on so I can at least get out of this mindset or get out of this space.
Facts.
And see it differently in another space and a different mindset and all of that. So that's where I am. What you got? Is this the clip?
Yeah, we got a little clip here today that I kind of want us to take a look at. This is
Talk about it.
This is the author of the Lean Startup, Eric, and he's talking about pretty much how he determines what pivoting is. So tune in for a quick little listen here with us right now.
Was groping around for a way to describe a phenomenon that I kept seeing in the startups I was working with. So I wrote a blog post. I mean, the blog post, it wasn't like coining the term pivot, it just said pivot, don't jump to a new vision. Now I'm good at encapsulating it crisply. A pivot is a change in strategy without a change in vision. I show in my slides now a cartoon I saw, I kid you not, in the New Yorker magazine. There's a man and a woman sitting in an outdoor cafe, and the caption below says, "I'm not leaving you, I'm pivoting to another man." So the word pivot is probably my most notorious contribution to the startup vernacular. Here's the critical thing you got to understand about the pivot. It's really very simple. You get in your car, you don't boot up your GPS and say, GPS, where do I want to go? It doesn't know, it's just a robot. It helps you get where you want to go. So the vision is the destination you have in mind. But if you run into an obstacle, you don't just drive your car into the obstacle over and over again in the hopes that it will be fine. You, with the help of your GPS, find a way around. Okay, very simple. Startups that succeed all do that really well. They start out with an idea that sounds good, but turns out to be terrible. YouTube started out as a dating site, and they only after people were starting to upload all kinds of video did they make the pivot to a video site. Flickr was an online video game. One of the things you could do in the online game was upload photos. And since that's the only thing players actually did, they said, hey, man, let me make it, we call it a zoom in pivot, where you take one part of the product and you make the whole product, you shrink it down to just that one thing. You make the world's best photo uploading service, even though you meant to make an online game. First version of Twitter was this thing called Odeo, which is a podcasting service. When they made the pivot to Twitter, it only had a few hundred customers, so the so-called vanity metrics were so low, they actually went to their investors and said, we're so embarrassed about these results, would you like your money back? And several of Silicon Valley's best investors made what is now a billion-dollar mistake of saying, yes, thank you. So you look at PayPal, which is about like digital cyber cash on your PDA. You're like, boy, what kind of visionary is that? But they had the vision for online payments in some form. They just didn't know exactly what it was going to look like. Let's talk about Groupon, because it's one of my favorites. Groupon started out as a business called The Point, which was designed to help people do petitions. So imagine that you're like, okay, I want to do a protest at City Hall. I'm mad about something. I don't want to be the only person who shows up. So we have a petition where if 100 people sign up and say, we'll all go to the protest, it tips and we all do it. If we never get to 100, it doesn't tip. Great idea, right? Wrong. They got no traction at all. It was a disaster. Didn't work. So they're like, okay, we got to try something new. They decided to try the social commerce thing. Social commerce is about creating coupons where we all get a discount if we all buy at the same time. I think it was 2-for-1 pizza in the pizza restaurant in the lobby of their building. Okay, that was the breakthrough technology. 20 people redeemed it. Now, I don't know about you. If I had been there, I would have known. Oh, obviously, 20 free pizzas equals fastest company in history to get $1 billion in sales. But most of us, let's be honest, we would not have known. 20 free pizzas, whatever. The reason the Groupon founders understood the power of selling 20 free pizzas is that they had failed for a year to get anybody to buy anything at all. That actually made them excited enough to try the next experiment and the next and the next and the next. That's what a pivot is. It is redeeming the failure because we learned so much about what's possible. That's the name of the game. That's what this is about.
I thought that was really dope because what he's talking about is pretty much you have to be able to be willing to fail. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And being able to see what happened during your failures will help you in your pivot, because as he explained in the beginning, a pivot is pretty much making a move without a strategy per se, but you have in mind where the actual vision is. And I like the analogy of like having the GPS guide you to the destination, because all you know in your head is the destination. You don't necessarily know how to get there.
Is it making it without a strategy though? Or is it making it with several different strategies? It sounds like it's like changing the strategy. Having a strategy is finding that that's not working and then shifting to another one.
Okay. I feel that. Yeah, it could be that as well. I think when it comes to whether it's a startup or whether it's in life, whether it's in love, sometimes you have to make a pivot. How would you really explain like making a pivot in relationships though? Like, you know, you want to get out of a relationship. You know this person isn't good for you, but you also know that you pretty much desire companionship. You're fine being alone, but you know that you've gotten past that stage in your life.
This is a committed relationship?
Yeah, like you may very much be in a relationship with somebody.
Well,
we got a comment from CJ saying that you killing it in the orange, by the way.
Thank you, CJ.
But yeah, you may be in a committed relationship and you just know that you need to pivot, or somebody may be holding you back from what you're trying to do. They may not necessarily be toxic, but they cannot be a part of your pivot that you're trying to have in life. I
think That's
You
hard.
said like you had the greatest piece of cornbread ever.
That sounds so good right now. Don't talk to me about food because I'm hungry. And I've been eating clean all week.
I just been eating whatever I can get. But
Oh,
yeah,
no,
what was
no,
you
no,
about
no,
to say?
no.
What you about to say?
What was I about to say?
What do you do when somebody can't be a part of your
Oh,
life?
I feel like that has to take hella communication.
Facts.
Like that's just a real touchy thing. And I don't know, especially if it's like a committed relationship, if it's like romance or something like that, or just a relationship that requires this type of communication, because it sounds like this isn't something that you can just jump from and be like, you know what,
Facts.
I'm out. But I don't know, hella communication and how finding a strategy before kind of pivoting, like pivoting with the person in mind and maybe in communication with them too. But I don't think that's something that you can just do on your own. You have to develop a strategy together.
I think a lot of that also has to do with pivoting plays a part into finding love, not necessarily like pivoting out of love or pivoting into love. CJ saying I'm preaching. Shondo, yes, hallelujah. Bless you, brother.
You got that comment quick.
Yes, hallelujah. But yeah, pivoting into love is actually funny. We actually have on the screen right now some actions that improve your chance of finding love. And studies show that meeting people via online dating, the positive impact on odds raises it 17%. As opposed to doing nothing. Meeting colleagues and friends, even as for after work, after drinks, it can raise that chance by 16%. And that study's not necessarily talking about... As opposed
to doing nothing?
Yeah, as opposed to just chilling and thinking love's going to come find you. Like actually
Who's thinking that?
I think people feel like finding love is some passive experience. I really do.
So you're saying go look for it?
Not necessarily go look for it, but it's talking about putting yourself in the environments that make it necessary. Like when it says over here on this side of the screen to meet colleagues and friends for drinks and stuff like that, it's not necessarily talking about trying to date one of your colleagues and friends, but within that
just
environment,
interacting
you interacting with them, people are going to see like, oh, you're social. Now somebody may have more courage to walk up to you in that group of people and say, hit you with the Luther Vandross, like, excuse me, miss, but what's your name? Where are you from? And can I come? Hey yo, why did Luther Vandross say that? Like, where are you from and can I come? Like, what if they from a spot where you like, you want to know what? They're a little racist down there. I don't know if I want to go there. But anyway, talking to people at the gym raises that chance by 15%. Meeting people.
Bottles from Bumble.
Through really? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
That bottle.
Oh, that bottle.
Yeah, it's from Bumble.
Oh yeah. I don't want to. They ain't sponsoring us.
Oh, okay.
So, they can't.
We didn't say that.
Talking to people at clubs and bars raised at 9%. Meeting people through shared hobbies and societies, social clubs, raised at 11%. And meeting friends of friends and getting set up by family members is 4% and 1% respectively. So I just thought that was really interesting when I took a look at that, how that really plays a part into finding love or pivoting out of the single life towards love and putting yourself in position. I think the biggest thing about pivoting is putting yourself in position.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, aren't you already in position? What if what you were doing before you felt was putting you in position for where you needed to be? And what do you do when you get to the realization that that's not it?
I think the pivot is seen if that is it. Because if you leave it completely, then that's not a pivot, just like what's his name said. But if you're pivoting, then you're kind of still there, but you're also trying something else. So you still have those same strategies, but you're either mixing them with something else or you're exchanging them. Keeping what's working and releasing what's not, and adding what's working to this new strategy and going with it like that.
So sometimes going with the flow works. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got a comment right here, and it's from CJ, and he asked, "Would y'all date coworkers?" I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
One, I'm taking. Two, I work with mostly men, and that's not my preference. And three, it gets too messy. It just no.
Yeah.
Shondo. It gets way too messy. So
I feel like no, because, well, for me at least, I need my space. And if you're there at work and there when I get home, it just doesn't work for me. Now, my parents, when my mom was working, they worked in the same building, different departments, but it works for them. I mean, they're still married, so. But now she makes cakes, and it's beautiful.
You gonna throw the plug in real quick?
Yeah.
Where can we find these cakes?
Royal Cakes and Treats in Sugar Hill, Georgia. So if you're in Georgia, around the Beaufort area, Atlanta area, order you some cakes from Royal Cakes and Treats.
Okay, yes.
On Instagram and Facebook.
I'm gonna have to give me some cake. No, but seriously, off that, I do want to throw that question on the screen so people tuning in can't see what's going on. So yeah, the question we got right now is: would you date a coworker, and would that be a good pivot from your single life to a dating life? What's going on, Marcus Coleman? Thank you for tuning into the conversation. Comment below: would you date a coworker? And if you are dating a coworker, what is a good way to pivot out of that to kind of... Well, actually, now let's talk about that.
No.
Let's talk about pivoting out of dating a coworker.
You love talking about dating.
We're going to get to careers in a second. Because I got another Steve Harvey clip for y'all, too.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Amen.
That sounds messy. Because they're just right there at work. All the time, every day. And now you're pivoting from that to something else?
Ooh,
No.
child.
No.
Would you date a coworker? Actually, CJ just commented. He said, I had a sexual experience with a coworker once, and it was messy as hell. I wouldn't advise. And it looks like CJ also put only in different departments. No, not even in different departments. I don't care how large your campus is. I don't care if you work at Progressive in Cleveland with like thousands upon thousands of employees. You gonna run into them in a cafeteria and like So on on Dear White People, the newest season, when Lionel is at the gay party with his friend, and he spoiler. So and he run into old dude from last season that was his sexual concubine. Yeah, it's awkward running into people that you ain't with no more. So if you gonna date a coworker and then break up with a coworker, imagine like having to see them all the time. Exactly.
Every day. But
messy.
You know what? I work in they're not a huge building, but I work in a building and it's like a family company and there are a lot of couples there and they seem to be happy. Dating and married.
Okay.
Still, not me.
Maya says she wouldn't date a coworker because of the pivot issue and boundaries.
Yes,
and I think, actually, Maya, you raise a good point. I feel like you should think about a pivot before you kind of pivot into something.
Well, yeah, but you have to develop a strategy.
All right. So now, let's dip out of love for a second and start talking towards career goals, entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
Yes. So imagine it's really difficult to do. Say you're chasing a dream, you're chasing a goal, whether it's your artistic goal, whether it's a financial goal. You're trying to pivot into something, but then. What if, and this happens to a lot of us, that thing may no longer be your passion 20 years from now. It was really great for this time period, like it really was. But it's time for you to pivot out of that into something. And you may be very well established. And I feel like that's what some music artists have a problem with sometimes when they don't want to do music anymore.
Yeah.
Where it's now become too much of a business thing and they rather pivot out of that. And I think what we see a lot of artists do nowadays is set themselves up with other business ventures. So if they can't, if they can't or they don't want to be an artist anymore, they don't have to and they can pursue other things. Now, albeit I'm not a Jay-Z or Beyonce, everybody is not somebody who has multiple streams of income like a Jeff Bezos or whatever. But at the end of the day, should you think of how you should pivot out of your passion?
I think, well, yes, especially if that's what's making you money. Absolutely, you should think.
So once it becomes kind of like a cash flow, you should think of how you should think of an exit strategy.
Yeah.
Essentially. Okay.
Just like you said, having different ways of making money, but I feel like if it sounds to me like, especially the examples that you just gave, it's not the passion that they're losing, it's everything that comes with it that's making them want to venture out.
But I think, isn't that inevitable if you reach a certain level of success in anything? Like, let's think about it right now.
It's not inevitable. Like, it depends on what you sign up for.
I think, I don't know. I think even Maya Angelou got to a point where she's like, I don't want to write no more poems. I already told people how the caged birds be singing and why it sings.
But you know what? Maya wasn't like, that wasn't what she started off doing. She was teaching, she was writing plays, she was traveling with said plays. Like, she was doing so many other things. The poems came from the experience, so she was constantly hopping. It just, we know her to be a poet. She also.
So is that one thing? How do I say this? Pivoting in and out of your passions while you're still in it may be very important. And I think that helps with burnout. I think a lot of times artistically we see people get so fatigued or so burnt out on things that they love, and then they end up not loving them anymore.
Yeah.
And the only way to kind of keep the fire going is to kind of have it like kindling as opposed to full bore.
Yeah. I think that's important. You have, like, for me at least, I have to be doing multiple different things, or else I either focus too hard on one thing and it's just so overwhelming. Like, I have to constantly be going to different directions, and then when I come back to this, I have so much to add to it because I've been everywhere else. Yeah.
That's
Experience, inspiration, and just taking things from one place, putting them in another place, breaking rules and shit.
I think that's something, not necessarily that our millennial generation started because we didn't, but it's imperative. I'm reading this book right now called Range. It's been taking me forever to finish
It's
this
taken
book.
a long time to read too. Go ahead.
It's just this book in particular. Like, I keep getting interrupted with things in life. Like, I only read 2 chapters today, and usually I'm able to knock out way more. But anyway, I'm reading this book called Range, and it's talking about the actual benefits of not hunkering down and being hyper focused on one thing, because when you do that, you pretty much lose perspective of things around you and how it can relate or improve that actual craft.
Exactly.
And it's one thing that he mentions earlier in the book is talking about how many people who are leaving the military, they gain this myriad of skills that aren't just connected to one thing, but that they've learned over the course of their military career, and they want to get out into the world and put that to use, but they kind of feel like, is it too late to shift or pivot from one thing to another? And I feel like the good thing about having a wide array or a wide range of abilities, technical skills, and talents is that you can not only float between different careers and passions, but you can also use those other skills, talents, and passions to give perspective to what you're trying to do next, which may be totally unrelated to what you've done in the past.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like it's important to have a vision, but also be open to the vision going in a different direction. Like, it's important to know where you want to go, but also be open, because we can only see so much.
Facts.
And sometimes our vision can be a limit if we let it.
We got a comment from Kimberly Young, and it says, it's called growth. Sometimes when you conquer something you are passionate about, you find it no longer drives you, and you find other avenues to renew your spirit. I think that's really important. A lot of times we do pretty much reach our goal, or get to the point that we were trying to accomplish, and after we accomplish that, we say, well, there may be more to go, but I did what I set out to accomplish. I'm ready for the next thing. And a lot of times within our journey of accomplishing, whether it's our goals, dreams, passions, pretty much whatever we're trying to accomplish, we don't think about, what happens when I accomplish this? A lot of times we think about, okay, what should I do if I don't like this? And then we kind of have that plan B set up. But it's kind of like, well, what do you do when you accomplish plan A? Because some of our plan A's have ends to them, and we forget about that. And it's kind of like,
we get so into it.
We get because 3 things I feel like happen. we either accomplished the goal quicker than we thought, we accomplished the goal much later than we thought, which, I mean, it may, if we have perseverance, that's not a problem. Or we don't accomplish the goal at all and we pivot from it. But I feel like the biggest issue that some people may see creatively is when they accomplish that goal quicker than they had anticipated, and they have this what's next feeling. It's almost like when you get in a position where you're able to retire early and you have 10 or 15 years before what you planned on retirement, and you said, all right, I'll retire early. And what I've read a lot is that some people kind of fall into I don't know what to do with my life now.
Oh, no.
Because some people don't have those outside passions or hobbies, talents, or interests that may spark something
That's terrifying.
is growing with them.
To retire from a job and not know what to do because my life has become that job? Hell no. Sorry, no.
Preach.
Okay.
Speaking of jobs and speaking of pretty much changing jobs, one statistic that I was reading earlier today was talking about the amount of times people change jobs within their career, and statistically speaking, the average person changes jobs 12 times in their career. And I thought that was really not necessarily ha-ha funny, but kind of like an interesting funny, because that means throughout someone's career, that means they would change jobs on average every 4 to 5 years.
Like throughout their whole working career?
Their working career, people change what would be their main source of income job. Of course, they may be doing the
Way
same.
ahead of schedule. Our jobs hopped heavy last year. Heavy.
Hallelujah.
But yeah.
Shout out to the job hoppers out there.
Hop, 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 hop.
But I think it's really important to take that in perspective.
No, that wasn't last year. Go
The
ahead.
year before?
Sorry, yeah.
You're
I lost
reminiscing?
like a whole year. Anyway.
Oh, he's like Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown lost like
Stop.
5 years of his life where he don't remember nothing that
I
happened.
don't want to talk about it.
But no, it's just interesting to see how often people change jobs, and if we're thinking about it as like the average person, which in the grand scheme of things we're all kind of like the average person, you're gonna fall somewhere within there. Very few people nowadays are staying at one job and climbing up a corporate ladder and then retiring. A lot of people are hopping from place to place and kind of figuring out as we go and keeping multiple kind of streams of income. Not necessarily to become millionaires, really just to survive.
Yeah,
that's what it's kind of come
now.
to.
Yeah.
And one thing, all right, I want to touch on this. I'm gonna try and swing this back to pivoting, but I think
Where we going?
But I think it's really important to note how the landscape has changed with jobs. You know,
Okay, go ahead.
it's not necessarily feasible to have one job be your source of income solely,
Especially
anymore.
as a single person.
So when people say, y'all, especially y'all baby boomers, talk about how, millennials don't work hard enough. And mind you, millennials are like 40 now, like the upper echelon of like millennials. So it's not like we're children. Like millennials are like from 24 to like 39. But anyway,
So not 40.
All right,
I'm just playing.
About 40. But it's interesting to see how the landscape and career and jobs have changed. Millennials are talked about as if they're lazy, but I wish I had the statistics from the other study. But it showed that pretty much millennials take on more competition in the workplace than baby boomers. Baby boomers get very comfortable.
Yeah.
And
they can
feel kind of secure in their jobs. But what we're seeing is anybody can get laid off.
quick.
So it's funny to just see how that happens and how people are pretty much having multiple streams of income for, more or less for survival. And I feel like, I'm going to just put it like this, as black people, that kind of sets us back because we are yet again in another state where we're in survival mode again. And it's kind of like there's never been a point in American history where black people have not been trying to purely survive. And I think that's very interesting. Kimberly Young says some employers don't value you and you have to promote yourself, hence leave for a better opportunity. And I think that's that's a very valid point, and that goes to show why that statistic of people leaving or changing jobs 12 times within their career is at that level. And sometimes you have to take into consideration that you need to be able to go out and branch out on your own thing. We got a video right here from Steve Harvey, and he's talking about jumping and getting to pretty much to get to your next goal or get to what you want to accomplish. So tune in.
Jumping is scary. When you first jump, your parachute is not going to open right away. I would love to tell you that it would, that when you quit your job, you'll just have a shop full of clients. It ain't gonna happen. The chute don't ever open right away. You gonna get some skin tore off you on them rocks. At times it's gonna feel like it's an uncontrollable tumble. But let me tell you this, if you don't ever jump, your parachute will never open. You will never soar. Now you'll be safe. You'll sit there with that parachute on your back, all them skills you got and your skills you got, and you'll have it packed away, and you'll never get cut up on the rocks. Don't jump, and you'll never get cut up. But if you do not jump, you will never soar.
That's important. If you do not jump, you will never soar.
Yeah.
And it's scary taking that risk. On that particular episode of the Steve Harvey Show, that woman is a hairstylist, and she has a few clients, and she wants to step out and quit her main job and go full-fledged with that because that's what she's passionate about. That's what she really wants to be her main source of income. She knows that she can market better and pretty much get to the point where she can attain more clients, and she's already seeing new ones come in, but she wants to be able to go harder at that. Kimberly Glenn put a comment that says, a lot of us change jobs based on family needs, location, better opportunities, jobs overworking, and underpaying. So sometimes she threw some of those in there as far as like wanting to leave a job, but sometimes the job is not the problem. Sometimes it's location. Like a lot of times people love what they do, but they don't love where they are, like geographically.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are connected. Say you got married and your spouse has this great opportunity elsewhere. I don't know about y'all. I ain't doing no long distance marriage. So it's just like, do you go with your spouse or do you try to like? It's pretty much you have to leave at that point, especially if you don't want to be a hindrance to your spouse progressing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times it's not just one factor either that's playing into wanting to pivot from one thing to another thing.
And I would say, like, just based off of that clip, her wanting to quit her job so that she can go forth and do her own business, I feel like just quitting her job and still having the financial needs that she has is the push enough to make her push her own business and do what she needs to do. Just like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've seen it multiple times when people quit their job and they're just like, oh, what am I going to do? And then because they have so many needs, because they need to fulfill things financially or just creatively, they just go for it and they push, and you get all these ideas because you have to. You don't have a cushion.
But everybody's not built like that, correct?
Yeah, but I feel like those people wouldn't quit their jobs.
Very interesting. That's very interesting. Do we have the job security that was once kind of in place for our parents and grandparents?
When was that?
Okay.
Make job security great again.
Who's running with that campaign? Because like y'all about to get all of the votes. Like, make job security great again. Just like, let's make Walmart great again. Let's make job security great again. Y'all done made them Popeye chicken sandwiches great, and they ain't even, this is the first time they done came out. No, I think some people was able to get some today, but I think y'all just want make chicken sandwiches from Popeyes, period. Like, y'all don't need no great again or nothing. Y'all just want more.
That is insane. I cannot believe that happened, but go ahead.
But all right, so for instance with that, all right, let's put that into perspective. You've gotten to manager at Popeyes, and there is a corporate ladder. I guess you could become a regional manager or something like that. But your spouse wants to move, and this gig, really, you can do this anywhere. You could probably move or something like that. Do you pivot and move with your spouse? And under what situations do you try and talk your spouse into not moving and pivoting for them? And I want to throw in there, can two people that are in a relationship have pivots that are best for them clash for each other? You know what I mean?
That's sad. I don't. I feel like that's when compromise comes in.
Okay.
Whether it be compromising for distance or compromising for, okay, you do your thing and I'll see what I can find, or that's tough.
So, like, let's take the Steve Harvey joint for instance. She wanted to quit her job. Now she had a boyfriend in that instance, and I'm sure that they were splitting some bills. Which means if she quits her job and goes really hard for hers, that means their living situations become drastically different. So, what do you do as the boyfriend in a situation where you want to support your girl, but it's kind of like, yo, that means we either need to like make a lot of cuts around here, around the house.
You support that business and make sure y'all don't have to make cuts.
What? All right.
What don't you get?
All right, I'm saying like this, as the
It's a
boyfriend,
partnership
what's
at
going
this
on, Trey?
point.
Cool. No, I'm literally saying this. All right, so she's getting a salary from a job. She's also getting side money from
doing
hair.
Yeah.
But she wants to go full-fledged with that. He has a salary from a job. So when this money drops off, they have less money. So what can everybody do to make that work then?
I'm sure they've talked about that before.
All right, people don't talk about that. People, like, literally people be like, hey babe, I quit today. And it's just like, yo, wait, what you mean you quit today? Like, yeah, I quit. Chick wanted to talk back, was in my face. I was out of there. I told him, my man got 2 jobs. Like, hold on,
Look,
Rochelle.
that was
you can't
my-
be doing that.
My husband has 2 jobs.
It's just like, you can't be pulling that. But it's just like that, but that happens. So what do you say? So obviously, in that instance, they talked. And you
They had to. She on a Steve Harvey show. She got to be talking to somebody.
But what do you do when your partner didn't talk before they chose to pivot, and now that pivot affects
Don't
both of you?
ask me that because I'm probably the one who quit. So
why would you do that without thinking about the household as a whole?
because it's going to work. I'm going to get another job, or I'm going to make this work. It's going to happen. Like, I see it. I'm going to do what I have to do, and it's going to work eventually. Yes, we might have to make some cuts. We might have to compromise some things, but that's just temporary, and it's just things.
I think whether you're planning to pivot or not career-wise, I think if you are living with your partner, I think the conversation of like, what is the game plan if one of us loses a job, quits a job, or plans to pursue something else, and there's a time frame where ain't no money coming in from one of us.
I feel like if there's not a game plan, then it's not a pivot. Like, if you lose a job, that's not a pivot. You got fired, or you got laid off. You need to shift now.
My levels put support her and figure it out.
Yes.
If the water is too hot, then it wasn't meant for him to be in the first place at this point in progress in her life. Does he really believe in her is the question. All right, flip that question the other way. All right, what if he's the one that pivots or, drops the job or pursues something? Is that the same for women? Like, oh yeah, girl, you should just support him, even though he ain't been making money the last couple of months. It's just, but like, we talk about equality. It's just like, I want to know, is there equality in this playing field right here? Or is it just like, oh, he should support her no matter whatever she do. But yeah, girl, you ain't got to support him in whatever he do. If he making stupid decisions, that's not for you because, hey, that's whatever. And sometimes I feel like what you view as what your partner's stupid decision isn't always a stupid decision.
No.
But
I feel
people,
like we're supportive people.
all right. Kimberly Glenn put, you got to plan out. I love y'all in the comments tonight, y'all. You got to plan out what the financial changes look like. If strain might happen, cut costs, limit spending, penny pinch. Yes, but I'm with that. She put LOL on there, but it's just like, yo, there has to be a game plan for what if. Now, my whole thing is I never plan for what if to happen, but it's kind of like plan for the worst, expect the best, plan for the worst. And it's kind of like, yo, do we got, 6 months of expenses saved up? Do we have a separate like savings fund? Do we have
because things might happen within those 6 months.
do we have a plan to continue paying on debt if we have that?
Yeah.
If something happens, and that's the big. I don't want to get into debt, but yeah, it's just like because I'm dealing with that right now, amen. But just
And you dealing with it too.
I'm dealing with it, but my plan is to have it all paid off, amen. So just paid it off. Jesus paid it all on the cross, but he ain't paid my student loans. So Jesus ain't pay all the finances. So I don't know about that.
But it's within you to get that paid.
I want Jesus. Jesus, you paid for my sins. I need you to pay for my student loans, okay?
William, move on.
So Maya put, LOL, the way you putting it makes it sound different, but if she believes in him and trusts the process and is making smart decisions and his thoughts on it, all you have is communicated expectations and do it. You raise a good point. I think it really just comes down to communication.
Yeah.
Which I feel like
everything.
But yo,
communication.
yes, real talk. Like real talk. Most problems are solved just by communication. Like
that's hard.
Like for some people, you bad at communicating, ain't you?
Yes. Yes. Only yes. And sometimes never mind. That's
hey yo,
another
people
show.
that's bad at communication always pausing and come up with the excuse. But it ain't always.
It's not an excuse. It's an explanation.
Sometimes it be them.
That's not what I'm saying.
Because they should know that I'm trying to hit send.
No.
And that I just couldn't hit send on the text message. The phone works both ways. I know they call me 10 times, but they can call an 11th time. Like,
Anywho, you got another video for us?
No, I don't have another clip, but I do want to close out the show with this. As far as like what I have as last words, don't be afraid. No, stop laughing. Don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid to jump, because going over the ledge is scary, but sometimes paradise is over there.
Yeah. But what if I fall? Oh, but what if you fly?
Facts. High five. High five. High five. Yes. All there. All there.
All right.
Anything,
and make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell if you're on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.